Have you heard the term success consciousness? It's something I've been focused on for the past 5 or so years of my life in pursuit of the highest threshold of success for myself and those I get to help. And what I've discovered around success is that, number one, everyone has the potential to create it. But number two, successful people literally believe in themselves to their core. They believe they deserve results from the work they put in. They've spent time cultivating a unique ingenuity in building assets or businesses that reflect that. And what I started to notice as I interacted with and interviewed masters across disciplines, across demographics, are a few common denominators of how they think, how they feel, and behave. And the more of these things that they embodied, it seemed like the more successful they were. Now, we can all do these things. Success and its qualities aren't reserved for just the elite or the rich. They're accessible to anyone at any time, simply by deciding to incorporate these traits into your makeup, into your disposition, into your way of thinking and working. And so, let's get into some of the top character traits and ways of being of the most successful people in the world. Successful people see alternative opportunities and choices where others see only a single option. They don't look at life as being linear but multidimensional. This ability to see multiple solutions instead of one is called divergent thinking, and it's actually one of the qualities of genius. Successful people aren't just willing to deviate, to get out of line, but they're compelled to. It's the only way they know how to live. If it's been done before or being done by the masses, you have to be able to find your own angle. And that's exactly what I did with my previous content brand, New Earth Knowledge. I found a sub-niche and an underserved audience that overlapped with my own divergent thinking about the topic of creation and nature of reality, and I built a content library around those insights. So you have to be different, and you have to go against the grain and be willing to be outcasted. Successful people see life as existing on a spectrum. They don't categorize things as good or bad, for example, but instead they ask, to what extent? If they misstep, they immediately get to work on a plan to course correct. Their ability to pivot and to be resourceful in the face of turbulence gives them an edge where others become attached to the wins or identify with the losses. They do neither. Their MO is to keep it moving. Relatedly, they don't see very many things as one-sided. Debates, opinions, or ideas. They're objective realists, which means their vantage point in viewing situations from an even-keeled place allows them to expand their periphery so they can see every possible truth. You also have to be slow to judgment, but quick to act. You have to be able to keep your composure in emotionally charged circumstances. This is a huge one. If you allow yourself to become easily angered by external situations, you have to get it in check. You have to do practices to calm your nervous system so that you can remain neutral and centered, even when things get stressful. And to that point, when life tests high performers, they refuse to bend over. The world is unfair, but if you normalize dealing with uncertainty, then you can expect to encounter obstacles, but refuse to succumb to them. To what lengths are you willing to go in order to achieve your goals? How many times can you get knocked down and get back up, wipe the blood from your face, and keep going? The only time you lose is when you quit. As long as you keep going, you cannot lose. Another quality of success is being willing to bend the rules. Now, I'm not talking about breaking the law or cheating outright or hurting another person. But at some point, you're going to be faced with a crossroads that will force you to take a risk. Point blank, successful people are rebels. They don't accept what the world tells them to do. They operate by their own moral code, not the world's. This can be powered by greed or good, And yes, some successful people operate from a misguided moral compass. Obviously, you can stay heart-led and still win. But this is about refusing to let anything get in your way. Successful people have a different perspective on stress. They understand that stress is actually part of being human. Yes, stress can be a sign that you need to slow down. If you're anxious, for example, then slow down and take a break. But stress can also be a natural byproduct of high-stakes work, or of difficult conversations, or working outside of your comfort zone. So learn to manage stress, learn to work with it, not to demonize it as something that you should never feel. If you're playing the game at a high level, you have to train yourself to focus on your game. That means you'll have to pass up seemingly good opportunities, but which don't align with your goal. There's tons of options of things you could do out there. Success knows you have to say no to the majority so you can say yes to a small minority. And the ones you choose, you can go all in on, because spreading yourself too thin is a recipe for disaster. The most successful people in the world are hard to reach people. Think about this. The more successful you become, the more status you attain, and high status people are not easy to just call up and have a casual chat with. They understand their attention is their most precious resource, not their house or their money or their cars. Attention is finite. So you have to allocate it sparingly. Where you choose to put it, go all in. No half-assing anything. From now on, it's either a hell yes or a no. Successful people have trained their mind to look for the angles, to look for gaps in hidden opportunities at all times. And they're always looking for points of leverage. You will be successful if you can use arbitrage to amp up the disparity between what you have and what the market needs. Easy to say, harder to do. All the successful people I know are masters at positioning themselves to own systems of supply for niches where demand is growing. So you have to become an in-demand asset to the world. I like to think about it as becoming a weapon, as sharpening myself so I can cut and create and capitalize through my market. And that's key. Successful people are excellent risk assessors. They're also calculated risk takers. If a highly probable outsized reward is paired with an acceptable risk, they're taking that chance almost every time. And if what they have to lose becomes substantial, then they become more conservative to preserve what they have. So understand how risk tolerant or risk averse you can afford to be based on where you are, and make decisions accordingly. Another characteristic of the most creative achievers is they're contrarian thinkers. The words no, can't, won't, shouldn't are not in their realm of reality. They never accept no for an answer. It's simply woven into their nature. They do not know how to settle. You want to shift into this mode of thinking. You're always coming up with new solutions. Related to that, never stay complacent, never be satisfied. You can recognize the successes and acknowledge the big wins, but that drive can never die. Material possessions don't satisfy. Real inspiration comes from a place within that compels you to make a proverbial dent in the universe. And along with that, this point is huge, especially when you're starting out. Don't work for money. Successful people know they have to work for free and bring value to the world before money will follow. So work for impact. Money is a correlative resource that comes after we've brought value. Most successful people are driven by a desire to master the game. Paradoxically, it's that journey to grow and master oneself that often results in ridiculous sums of money being generated. Then you can use money to build and invest in yourself. Successful people seek discomfort and love failure because of the lessons it provides. They know they can learn more by losing than winning, and as long as they don't give up, they'll win in the grand scheme. They transmute turbulence into transformation and use it to glean quick wisdom before moving on. Their emotional turnover period is powerful and quick. Piggybacking from that, they do not idle. They don't stall on decisions for long. When you act at a rapid pace extended over a meaningful amount of time, the compounding results of your success will be much greater. Get serious to be successful. Where others see work as have to do, successful people see work as get to do. They don't try to achieve their goals. They achieve them at all costs. They're willing to sacrifice now for returns down the line, and they're willing to forego nice to haves for their goals, which for them are necessities. Develop a knack for finding constraints in your life and eliminate or repair them quickly. High achievers also know their own weaknesses and compensate for them by bringing others in to cover those areas, or they make incremental improvements on their weaknesses until they can do those things reasonably well, or at least good enough, so it's no longer ruinous. So, know your deficiencies, then eliminate them, delegate to cover them, or get them to a minimally acceptable threshold. When's the last time you felt truly obsessed about what you were working on? I mean, so consumed that you couldn't stop, you couldn't walk away. That's who you have to become to excel in any field. There's nothing like good old-fashioned grit and hustle. The most successful people in the world seem crazy to everyone watching from the outside because of how hard they work. But to them, it's just who they are and what they do. Become obsessed with your work. And the best for last. This might sound like a cliche, but they do what they were born to do. See, the most successful people in the world discover what they were born to do. I believe we're all born with innumerable capabilities and skills and proficiencies. Those are a dime a dozen. But purpose, that's the stuff of life. Successful people merge their purpose with their profession. And I know that's easy to say and much harder to do. This point is about ikigai, which is the Japanese concept that basically says to find the center point of what you love, what you're skilled at, and what the world needs. Once you do, success becomes a byproduct of just giving your gift. In this way, success is no longer some abstract thing only meant for the 1% at the top. It's something you can have, that you are right now. And once you find your purpose, success is simply a function of two variables: hustle plus heart.